Okay, and welcome to Conversations with Kendall. And again, as I've asked you before, please hit that like button and subscribe, and let's make this podcast go viral. We've got a great guest today on our show here at Preferred Shore here in Sarasota, beautiful Sarasota. This is a beautiful studio we're in here, downtown Sarasota. So please tune in. Like and subscribe, and again, give me a call when you're ready for your listing. Let me list your home. I will do a great job. Again, the number is 847-980-8987. With me today is a custom home remodeler extraordinaire in Sarasota. The guy you want to know.
Too kind.
And this is the guy. I've done some research. His name is John Rowell. From Southtide Construction. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Kendall. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. This is going to be good. Good stuff here. I just met you, and you kind of told me a little bit about your past, but fill us in.
Yeah.
Where you were born, where you were raised, how we got to this point.
So, I know there's a lot of Sarasota transplants, not many natives in our Sarasota area. You know, we love our home, we love our town here, but it's a transplant, it's a melting pot area. My wife and I are some of the few native Floridians you'll find here. We're actually together 8th generation Floridians, but our kids are 9th now. Our two kids are 9th generation Floridians. So started in Florida, continuing to build Florida. So my family is from Gainesville, Florida, where the University of Florida is based. We've been the same land since 1830, actually. We settled in there.
1830?
1830, yeah.
Wow, that's before Disney.
Before lots of things in Florida. Much different land back then. Less desirable, I'd say.
Yes.
Less desirable.
The swamp.
So
really from the swamp.
Quite literally the swamp.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. So that swamp from whence I came is the starting point here. My family had a local business I told you a little bit about that we started in 1968 that was called Gainesville Tire Service, and that sort of gave me my entry into life, really, just learning the basics of business and ethics and just how to operate. So from there, that kind of, you're born into a family business as the 3rd generation owner. That sort of gives you a certain starting point on where you're going to go, or at least where you're going to start. Right.
But now that was Gainesville, so you
Correct.
Born and raised there.
Yeah, moved down to Sarasota about 10 years ago with my wife after she graduated from the University of Florida. So that's actually where we met in that college town environment. So we're both avid Gator fans, both, rabid Gator fan families. So it was probably fate there that we met. But she had a connection to this area, deeper than most. Her parents actually grew up here in this area, were first introduced in this area at the Columbia Restaurant on St. Armand's in, I want to say, 1972. So deep ties to this area as well. The construction aspect comes in where her family has been building homes here since 1958, actually. So her father and grandfather built, I want to say, thousands of homes here before a lot of the national builders arrived on the scene.
What was that company name?
So they were originally called Modern Builders and Glasser Construction in the 80s. But Modern Builders, actually, their company's still around. They do actually some impressive remodeling work and renovation work and new builds as well.
Not quite as impressive as Southtide.
Sometimes we partner together and we add to each other's talents there.
Good.
But the family industry for me growing up was actually the automotive industry and the tire business. But after 45, 50 years, sometimes you want to try different things. And so we moved to Sarasota about 10 years ago because there's not a better place we could think of to start a family and grow. And essentially that's was a natural fit.
Nice. And so you met up there. You got married up in Gainesville. You got married there.
We got married here, actually. Got married here. Yep. Yeah. But we never saw ourselves leaving Florida. Why would you?
Right. Right. Well, I know. You talk about not many native Floridians. I would say, I find it ironic, but the bulk of the folks I've had on the podcast are either native Floridians
Yeah.
or they moved here a long time ago.
At a certain point,
not quite
you become,
1870s, but
at a certain point, you become indoctrinated enough. You become a native.
Yeah.
You count as native after
so I
a
was
few
kind of
years.
shocked to hear all these people. Oh, I'm born and raised here, or all
Yeah.
my life here. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Now, why Sarasota? How did you say she had a tie here? You said your wife.
Yeah, I mean, her parents were already here. She wanted to be closer to her parents after being away for 4 years at college, and to be honest, I was sick of tires. To be honest, we joked about this last week when we first spoke, but my father always said, in the tire business, our shop started as a full service gas station where they would pump your gas, clean your windshield, check your fluids, all those things, and became a much larger operation with 15 employees and multiple locations at times, and serving tens of thousands of customers for almost 50 years. It was a huge thing, and it was a staple in Gainesville. But at a certain point, when you see tires being sold online cheaper than you can buy them
Right.
from your wholesaler partners that you've dealt with for decades, then the writing's on the wall. And so for that retail environment, I just felt like there was maybe a better path out there. And so we decided to try Sarasota because I've always been a builder at heart. I probably should have gone to engineering or architecture as a path, but I chose business just because that's what I was born into.
Right.
But I always had a passion for design and a passion for engineering, and so that's kind of a natural segue into building.
So you went to high school in Gainesville.
In
You
Gainesville,
went-
yep.
What were you into? What kind of sports, activities? What were you doing?
Everything. So you got to understand, I was working at, quote unquote, under the table at my family tire shop as a 12-year-old. I mean, so I was
Nothing under the table.
I was doing my own thing because I had goals. I wanted a PlayStation.
Right.
I wanted a new this, a new that. So my parents were good about instilling value in me. So you want a PlayStation? Okay. What's your plan?
Right.
So
How are you gonna get there?
So I had a few schemes as a kid to make money different ways. I think I sold my second grade teacher a set of tires,
Nice.
and that was my first sale, I want to say.
And you got it, all A's from her too.
Yeah,
man.
actually, yeah, I was a pretty good student, believe it or not. But I don't know. It became an environment where you learn the value of hard work. Because,
Working for what you what.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, we dealt with people there that their 3 generations of their family would come in as well. I mean, I know
Wow.
3 generations of families still that I haven't spoken to in 10 years that still, remember myself and my dad and my grandfather for things they did decades ago.
And it's interesting, you think about the tire business, but those are only good for what 60,000 miles or whatever they're good for. You can give different tires. When I had a Porsche,
Yep.
those tires lasted
Little
like
less.
20, yeah,
Little less.
20,000, and they were
A little less.
a whole lot more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you could sell tires 3 times over
Yeah.
to the same person, and then all their family members and so on. You could be
And it depends on the economy as well. So,
yeah, it's a gold mine.
2008, so kind of a parallel to where we're at now. Right now, I'm remodeling homes that 10 years ago would have been considered teardowns because times have changed. Interest rates are not what they once were. In 2008, we owned this thriving tire business, and instead of people trading in cars at 100,000 miles, they're fixing cars at 100,000 miles and
Yes.
keeping them for 2 more years
Yep.
because that's what the situation
And
deemed
tires
necessary.
are one of the things that goes probably quickest. Batteries will last for a long time, and pumps and this and that. But your tires,
It's really hard to have a business like that where you have to have a level of trust with your customer no matter what the business is. You know that as a realtor. I know that as a contractor. But think about all the reputations that mechanics have and tire shop. Oh, CD mechanic, shade tree mechanic.
Right.
You've got to fight through so much perception of things that you've not been involved with or done in that business just to earn the trust of a person.
you oftentimes have to not sell a tire
Yeah.
to show them how much you care about being a decent,
Yeah.
honest guy.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
there's
if you make a whole lot more money rather than to plug a tire,
Yep.
sell one. So that's true. And same thing with real estate. Yes, you will. I mean, folks. Typically, I think it's 7 to 8 years, or they're buying a new home or moving.
Yeah.
So you can. This is perpetual. It will continue on, and then all their friends and relatives. And again, are you a decent, honest guy is really what they want. A guy who cares. And especially in both industries, I think, cars,
Yeah.
tires,
Yeah.
real estate. Yeah, there's a lot of thought out there like they're just salesmen. Well, no, we're not just salesmen. We are service people.
In a sense, you're always selling yourself. You are,
Yes.
as a listing agent, as a buyer's agent, you're selling yourself.
Yep.
We had a reputation that could not be bought. It was something organically built over decades. It's something where people would send their family. We had people drive from 3-4 states away at times to get their cars repaired
There.
just because they knew they were getting ripped off closer to home. I mean, literally.
Yes.
Hundreds of thousands of customers over that 45, 48-year period. And the place is still in existence today. It's not, the shop didn't disappear after we sold it, but the customer base did because we weren't there to take care of it.
Right.
Frankly. So you can build something over, you know this, it takes a lot longer to build a reputation than it does to destroy it.
That's right. That's right.
So a lot of hard work can be, dashed easily. And so it's, as a business owner, you've got 12 employees. That's 12 people out there representing you. They can either make you look good or they can sully your reputation and put you in a mess that you've got to clean up.
Oftentimes, that's where I like working for myself. I'm the brand.
Correct.
And same thing with you now.
Correct.
I memean, you're it. You're the focal point. The buck stops here.
Correct.
So it is tough to get. I had a business one time with 40, 50 employees, and
Yep.
they don't all think the same way as you do.
Right.
They're decent, great people, but
Right.
yeah. And clients would come and say, "Hey, I chose your company because of you."
Right.
So you have to sell yourself. That's good. So you get out of Gainesville. You were in any marching bands, football teams, soccer, baseball. What'd you do?
I
in
wasn't
Gainesville?
athletic enough to play what I wanted to play.
Chess club.
No chess club. Although if you send me on Jeopardy or
Oh, there you
Survivor
go.
or Wheel of Fortune, I'm irrationally confident enough to think that I'll win all three.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm fully irrational there with my confidence. I think I could do okay on one of those shows, to be honest. No, I played soccer. Gainesville's a big soccer town, big football town because of the Florida Gators
Right.
and because of the university there. But you reach a certain level where you realize you're not really that
Not gonna
athletically
make
gifted to have
Yeah.
a future there, and you got to use your brain. So, fortunately, I grew up just early enough, not pre-internet, obviously, but pre-modern internet.
Right.
So I still grew up, climbing trees and running outside and
good old days.
and being a kid. So
When it got dark, you had to be home.
right.
Yeah.
My kids now are, the reason we live where we live in Sarasota is because we wanted a neighborhood that we could have that camaraderie and that community and that family environment. We can send our kids out, they can be at the neighbor's house, and we know they're okay.
Yeah.
And the neighbors know that too.
Right.
That's why we live where we live. I grew up in a bit of, I told you, 1830. We settled this property in 1830. I grew up on that property. It was 2 miles from the nearest paved road, okay? Needless to say, I can't skateboard, I can't rollerblade, anything like that.
Probably
But
ride a-
I could climb a
ride a-
tree.
Ride a bike pretty well.
And I could ride a dirt bike and those
Yeah.
kind of things. So there's different trade-offs. But my wife and I, both being native Floridians, we wanted that suburban kind of environment for our kids, and that's why we're here.
1800s. You got to look this guy up and go back and
It's true.
look at your lineage
1830.
and see
Yeah.
how far back to go, where you lived.
Oh,
what
I can trace it.
You can
further
trace it?
back, much further back.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Disney didn't come knocking on your door and say, "Hey, you want
No,
to sell your
our
property?"
land, unfortunately, was not the UF,
Chose-
actually. UF came after we did. Actually, the University of Florida settled, actually, on the property they're on now in Gainesville, partially because of a promise by the city of Gainesville to give them water, right? They need water for this university, for this campus. That water comes, or initially came, from a place called Bulware Springs, which Bulware is my mother's maiden name.
Oh,
And
wow.
So, deep ties to the area. So that's kind of, as a builder, we're my wife and I, are this team building and designing these projects and these homes, but we're always tied to the area too. It's possible to care about the environment around you and not want to develop everything, and also be open to development in certain cases.
Right.
Housing is a crisis.
This is so already we know more about you than probably most people do.
Yeah.
Your background. the Springs and
Yeah.
in your hometown.
A lot of history.
A lot of history. Wow.
Yeah.
This is not, so that's why you have these conversations. That's
Yeah.
why this
Yeah.
podcast is about getting to know these people. First of
Yeah.
all, I don't want to just talk to you about your construction company. That's coming next.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
who are you? Where'd you come up from? What got you to this point? Because, and you just find out a lot of the folks I've talked to, their parents instilled with them that, business and being responsible.
Yeah.
And now they're owners of their own company. And here you are, another one.
I resisted it. Trust me, I resisted the business ownership thing. My wife, for since we sold the shop, the automotive business, my wife, for years, just why don't you want to open another tire shop here? I'm done. I'm done with tires. I'm done with that business. But even in any business, there's a certain threshold of effort and that you've got to have that not everyone has. There was never a day in that almost 50-year history of that business when the door wasn't open at 7:30 when it needed to be, and when your name and number, cell phone number, are printed on the door in case of emergency. There's a built-in accountability there that you can't
run from.
You can't just learn, or you can't run from.
So you moved down here, and you kind of told me off the record. You can go into it.
Yeah.
You started working with other company builders.
So I got into, like I said, my wife's family. They've been building homes here long before the national builders have. Long before. I started working for Pulte Homes, which is a top 5 national builder and a good builder. Truth be told, it's a good builder. It's a good company. But it's a very large company. So I started working for them in 2017, building homes for 55 and up residents in Del Webb, Lakewood Ranch.
Let's stop you. You said top 5.
Yeah.
Give me your top 5. What are your top 5? You would know better than anybody.
My personal top 5, and trying to be non-subjective here, just in terms of what I understand the metrics to be right now, I'd say maybe not this exact order, but it's going to be Pulte, Ryan Homes, Taylor Morrison, Lennar, D.R. Horton, in some form or fashion. Lennar and D.R. Horton are both up there. Pulte usually trails right behind them because...
What about the John Cannons, Lee Weatherington?
Different apples and oranges. Apples and oranges, just because they're local. They're local guys. They've got...
higher end, possibly, versus
higher end
national.
higher end products, higher end offerings, higher end plans, lots of things like that are higher end. But you get what you pay for, and certainly there's value to be had in a production home from Pulte or a Taylor Morrison, and then same thing for like a Cannon or Lee Weatherington home. Certainly different product, but a product that I still know well and have interacted with quite a bit here.
Maybe
Pros and cons.
the Mercedes of
Sure.
builders versus GM or So okay.
Fancy homes sometimes yield fancier problems.
Right.
When you've got a Sub-Zero fridge that's discontinued, you can't get it for 18 months.
Yeah.
Your house isn't closing for a while, or.
I don't know if you told me this or others that sometimes the higher end homes, the expectations are a lot higher, and you can't close because 1 or 2 products aren't completely finished, and those products will take longer.
Many different buyers, right?
Yeah.
So you encounter many different buyers in your line of work, right?
And I watched Cannon build his, and I think Lee too.
Yeah.
Over in Founders Club.
Yep.
And I've seen how they build their homes versus the standard national builders, which again doesn't mean they're bad. I mean, not everyone can afford a Mercedes.
Yep.
But it looks to me like the whole foundation, the block pouring, it's like they almost fill all the blocks instead of just...
Different methods. So you'll see, this might be a little inside baseball, but really quickly, so all the national builders, including the home you and I live in, homes, 2 separate homes, to be clear, they all have monolithic slabs.
It's the same bedroom, but it's a separate home.
Meaning the homes we live in have a slab that was poured upon a prepped surface that was covered with plastic visqueen and then dirt underneath, basically, with some wire mesh in between. The homes that you'll see John Cannon and Weatherington build are built up on stem walls, so they have a 3 or 4 course block foundation built first and then filled solid within with plumbing underground. So yes, it's a stronger foundation. it would be too much in the weeds to get into pricing, but a foundation like that is going to cost 4 times as much as a foundation of a home like yours and your home or my home, because you have that
extra concrete then.
That extra price built in. You have that expectation as well.
And I don't know if that really matters too much. I guess
It can.
I guess it could, but
It hasn't to you or I, but it can to some, for sure.
But and also pouring in the block. They are pouring all over the block, aren't they?
Not all of it. It's usually filled in cells only where the engineer deems necessary,
Okay.
because that added cost of filling. Some of them will fill with foam for energy savings. So whatever there's a empty cell that's not filled with concrete, it'll be filled with foam. There's a company called Tailored Foam, for example, that injects all of these cells with foam for energy savings. So if it's not filled with concrete, it's either filled with foam or left hollow, which then gives you some insulation properties just in itself being hollow.
Right.
So-
Yeah. But our homes were filled just periodically. What do you call it? Monolith or?
Yeah, so the slab itself, it's monolithic. Our block walls on the first story are filled just where deemed necessary, where there's rebar running up and down,
Right.
around windows.
And that's how many feet?
No more than 4 to 6 feet apart, basically, throughout the perimeter of the house. So they're solid. To give you, I sat through the last 3 hurricanes this season with my family in my home, because I knew, although I didn't watch it personally be built, I know what standards it was built to just by virtue of the inspections that passed.
And I reached out to them in my homes. I said, we have a category 4 coming, maybe
Yeah.
a 5, maybe a
Yeah.
4, who knows?
Yeah.
And coming right at us.
Yeah.
What was this built for? And the guy at MI said, I'm not really sure. Let me go look. But obviously, it held up to category 4,
Yeah.
high 3, low 4, whatever it was. It held up fine. A couple of shingles that weren't nailed properly, whatever. But for your homes to hold up to a 4,
Yeah.
could they hit a 5 and hold it? Probably. But they built them. And you know the standards here in South Florida. I know
Yeah.
there's different standards in Miami.
Well, a lot of
But-
code here has been written or modified to mirror Miami-Dade wind code,
Yes.
and so a lot of the homes that the Nationals build here are built up to Miami-Dade wind code, which is in excess of 130 miles an hour. So you won't find many home builders that will give you in writing your home is good up to
Guaranteed.
this amount, because why would they? It'd be
Right,
foolish,
right.
you know. But like I said, I felt secure in my production home with my family during
All these hurricanes.
the scariest storm we've
Right.
seen
So far,
in decades
yeah.
so far here.
We did not. We took off and went to Miami, but
It's okay.
because I heard it might be a 5, maybe a 4. We didn't know, and we didn't, and it's not so much that I didn't think the home was going to make it, but it was losing power.
Yeah.
And for
What
how long would that
happens
be? Now,
after?
but it was only, 24 hours or less?
We got lucky.
Yeah.
We got very lucky, but that's, again, new construction, power lines buried,
Yes.
higher elevations.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
some of the
we
poor,
were good.
some of our less fortunate, neighborhoods around us that were built 10 years previously got flooded just because of that change in the maps,
Yeah. True.
those
'Cause
elevations.
We built up, and our runoff went off
Yeah.
to them, maybe. I don't know.
The math changes.
Yeah. In fact, that's why I recommend everybody get
Yeah.
flood insurance. I don't care where you're at.
Yeah. It
And-
doesn't hurt. It
No,
doesn't hurt. We were
it-
required to get it this year, and I'm glad we were.
You were required.
We were required.
Wow, and we are still not.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what part
in
of the
May,
neighborhood.
in May, we were informed that we would be required
Right.
to obtain flood insurance, and we did.
Yeah.
We could have fought it. Some neighbors fought it, and were successful. But
It doesn't hurt to have it. You never
No.
know. Well, okay, so that's your background. Here you are. You got married. You moved down here. You've started working for a couple of builders. You said,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off because I
No, that's
I want to
okay.
know your top 5 there. And you,
that's okay. I mean, yeah, they're the 2 biggest builders turn and burn. They just, it's a numbers game,
Yeah.
right? I'd say Pulte and MI and Taylor Morrison, 3 companies who I've worked for directly. They do take a bit more care than others do in terms of just minimum requirements. Their subcontractor will only do what you require them to do, right? So if you're paying this masonry company to pour X amount of slabs for your neighborhood, these slabs have to be flat. Nothing's perfectly flat, but you have to require them to have X amount of tolerance within X amount of feet, or else they'll abuse it and
Right.
get further and further and further out of level. Working for Taylor Morrison, working for Pulte, working for Lee Weatherington, you see things that you want to improve upon that you don't have the power to do so, right? You're not signing the checks. Your voice is only so and rightfully so. Why should you listen to the guy at the bottom of the totem pole when he's making suggestions? Who's this guy? He just got here,
Right.
right? So although my wife and I had joked about starting a new business when we moved to Sarasota years ago, it took me a few years of kind of being in that corporate grind to understand that, there's no help coming. You've got to save yourself, basically. And so it's like, and then there's nothing wrong with working, corporate jobs.
Right.
I'm just saying, for me personally, I see a track, and then I see other ideas that I think I might enjoy more. And so that's kind of where we went here, where my time working for Pulte, for Taylor Morrison, for Lee Weatherington, I built several hundred homes in Manatee and Sarasota counties. I built a new office for the Boys and Girls Club on Fruitville.
So what was your role in building those? Were you?
I was the face of it, the lead builder, the superintendent, the field manager.
Okay.
Different companies call it different things, but I was the face of that build. And so I'd walk in, meet the homeowner after signing their contract, go over their options with them from A to Z, and then be their contact Monday through Friday. Well, let's be honest, Monday through Sunday, until the home was built. So you're the face of things that are outside your control, right?
Right.
So I don't know how much you watched your home being built.
A lot.
Right.
We couldn't wait.
How many times did you walk in on a Saturday or Sunday and see something that you didn't want to see?
A lot.
Or a window open?
Yeah. Right.
Or a door unlocked? Yeah. Or a scratch on your appliance that you just got delivered?
Yeah.
Right? So there's expectation setting with homeowners when you're building a home in that field, and then there's the ability to control everything around you, and then there's the point where you just want to make things more controllable or more in your influence. And so as a business owner, now I have the option of, I couldn't fire people for bad work when I was an employee. Right. I fired people as a teenager running a tire shop. I fired men that were triple my age sometimes because they weren't getting it done. I mean, it's not something that I, was happy to do, but at a certain point, you're running a business. It's not a charity, right? You're running a business and you're providing a service, and a fair service at a fair price. If you've got employees that are stealing, that are late, that are careless, that are disrespectful, you've got to make tough choices. And so not everyone's able to do that kind of thing, but sometimes you have to make tough choices. And so one of those tough choices was deciding to go out on my own. After having built a couple hundred homes in the area and having what I jokingly call time served with these national builders, I was able to qualify for the tests required to get my Florida contractor's license. So there's 3 tests required. Went, studied, took all 3, passed them on my first try, and that was 3 years ago in June.
Wow. And
so from that point to where we are now, my first bread and butter was starting with these homeowners of these homes I just built, because let's face it, a lot of these production homes can be very sterile, and people want to add their personality and add their touch to it. So the first inklings of this business that became Southtide Construction started with just personalizing and modifying new construction homes that people were buying and building that had no personality, whether that's feature walls, fireplaces, laundry rooms, closets, kids' playrooms, but also there's that other passion I have of fixing things that are broken, right? So all through downtown Sarasota, you'll see homes that are borderline teardowns, right? But some of those homes are worth saving, right? So, I don't want every home to look the same,
It depends on the property that it's on, whether it's worth saving or not. But you're
There's
right.
lots of factors. Lots of factors.
Yep.
But I like homes with character. I like a home from the 1960s.
That's right. We talked about that.
I like some funky vaulted ceilings and some weird architecture sometimes. It's worth saving sometimes.
Coming out of Chicago, where I came out of, Frank Lloyd Wright was big up there, and some of his stuff is just phenomenal. And
huge inspiration.
Yeah, and some of the buildings and the artwork you see up there, and the ledges and so on, and gargoyles or whatever. The art museum in Chicago with the 2 lions out there.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just. You don't see that anymore. You see
It's very sterile. It's very sterile.
Like you mentioned, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And yet, I call it kind of a California look, I guess, the white sterile or Miami Beach look. I like the look, but I really enjoy having something unique inside. And I think another reason we're here talking, we're going to touch more on that, but, do you sell your home? Do you fix it up? Do you make it more a home, the value for yourself? Or can you go in there and do some trim work or some renovations that help your house sell? And that's a fine line there, because oftentimes folks say, I want the TV over the mantle, over the fireplace, but no one's buying that now. It's out of style. But you got to, because that's what you wanted.
This is your home.
So then it makes it tough to sell. The other thing I think I'm going to touch on real quick is, if you have two homes in the same neighborhood, both have pools, both built to the same builder, same style home, one has a nice inside custom done by Southtide, it's probably going to sell a bit quicker.
It's got a little more personality. It's got a higher threshold for walking in.
And we can talk about the return on investments as well. I kind of looked up that and did some research on that. But so you started Southtide 3 years ago.
Yep.
And what was the first gig you did? What was the first thing?
Fireplace wall.
Fireplace wall.
And so what's funny, people you're either in or you're out on shiplap. And so forgive me if you don't like shiplap, but I think I may have done a dozen fireplace walls back to back to back, just out the gate, without ever having to make really a call. I don't advertise. I won't advertise.
This is the biggest advertisement you're going to have, probably.
This is. I mean, I might put a sign at our kids' school.
Right.
To be honest, just more for them.
Are you there? I just hung those up, by the way.
I haven't yet.
I'm part of the dad's group.
I may be late. I may be late on that form.
Never late. I mean, there's room on the wall there.
Yeah. But I don't. But that's for the school. That's not. I'm not taking out.
You're right.
I remember, like yesterday, arguing with my father about print ad. Like the yellow pages. Remember the yellow pages?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the phone book? Mm-hmm. People thought they couldn't live without that thing.
I used to sit on that, be taller.
Yeah. I used to get into really deep economical debates with yellow pages salesmen coming into my tire shop about just the waning influence, rather, that they have.
Yeah.
And so I'm not big on advertising. I think that the best advertisement you can have is organic, and it's word of mouth, and it's referrals. Yep. I've never once planned to do any kind of paid ad or anything like that, because every time I finish a job, the more often than not, I'll end up back in that person's house doing something else later. And I think I looked at, I think like 22% of all my client base I've done repeat work for.
Wow.
So it's something that's a good barometer of where I'm at,
That is really good. So 3 years ago you did
just
fireplace walls,
feature walls.
I don't understand that in Florida.
Yeah.
Now growing up in Chicago, you had a real fireplace.
Yeah.
But down here, they all, maybe because they're coming from north.
Yeah.
And they say, I miss that fireplace.
Yeah.
And you said, what are you missing about that fireplace?
It's just the look.
Just the look.
I've got one too. I've got one too.
And I'm like, wow. And we're having one built. By the way, I will tell you how great he does here when he finishes here, and
we'll report back in a month or so.
Yes, but that's big. I was going to ask you about what are the trends down here that you're seeing in Southwest Florida, maybe that you don't see anywhere else in the country, or maybe they're just unique to Florida. Is that the new thing, fireplace walls, or is that waning now a little bit?
It is waning a little bit. I'm seeing a bit more different style with built-ins, floating cabinets, floating shelves, things like that. But 2 years ago, these feature walls were 80 to 90% of my business, and now they're maybe 40% of my business, because we've gotten so much more in the remodels and in the deeper things, and that's before the storms have necessitated remodels that weren't necessarily planned 6 months ago. But the plan was always to become more of a full service. And although I'm licensed to build a home from start to finish, I have no desire to do so right now, to be honest, unless something
major,
captivating comes along, or something that's worth the effort, or worth the the expense. You know,
Yeah, so if I bought 5 acres out in, I don't know, Mayaca City,
Yeah.
out that way.
Give me a call.
And I give you a call
Yeah.
and say, I got a custom brand new home.
Yeah.
Would you do that, or would you say that's too much time?
Let's make it look interesting at least. Let's
Yeah.
make it look pretty. Let's make it.
Yeah.
Let's channel some Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yes,
Let's not build a cookie cutter.
Right.
Then
You'd
I'm
be interested in that kind of an project.
interested.
Okay.
Then I'm interested. Yes.
That is cool. That is
Yeah.
nice that you're not here for the money.
But
You're
that's
here
the thing.
for the adventure.
But that's the thing. Homes. Let's be honest. Homes like your home and mine need some customization.
Yes.
Homes that are new custom builds that are totally off the wall, one-off pieces. They're not going to need a whole lot of personalization because the home is the personalization. You know, some of these older homes that have some personality left or some spark to bring back or some terrazzo floors that you can uncover. I mean, you've got something there that's potential uncovered. You know,
That's from my first home up in Illinois. I had a raised ranch and carpet all throughout, and they had puppies. So when we bought this, I think it was like $90,000 back then.
Yeah. Yep.
And first thing we did was, because they had dogs, we ripped the carpets up.
Yep.
And guess what we found underneath?
Beautiful floors.
Beautiful hardwood floors, and had them sanded, and they were just gorgeous.
Yep.
The problem with some of the older homes down here, I think anyway,
Yeah.
is that you feel claustrophobic.
Yeah.
How do you make that home look big again? Taller ceilings or bigger walls? What are you doing to?
There's so many. You're right. There's so many walls dividing a kitchen from a living room that was in vogue back then, right? So many drop soffit ceilings in kitchens that are superfluous.
And lighting's down there too.
Yeah, the drop lighting.
Yeah.
And it's like an old library from
Yes.
the '70s. It's but if the house is block, solid, it's built. That's the thing. There are homes. Drive an hour east, go to Wauchula, go to Mayaca City, go to Sebring. You'll see old cracker houses that were built in the 1800s, still standing, just fine. And it's like, do I think my home will be there in 100 years? I hope so. I don't know, but there's a lot that goes into each project, but there's no two alike. Even if they're in the same neighborhood, there's no two alike ever. They're almost always, because of the homeowners, personalities, their wish lists. There's always a different twist.
So you like putting your personal stamp on something. I mean, even fireplace walls are cool, but they all tend to look.
And I've never
Pretty
done the
much
same thing twice. As many as I've done, no two are alike. They're all little bit different, little tweak here, little modification here, because some guy one guy's a gamer, one person's a movie theater, home theater buff. So there's different
looks. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So you enjoy that. You like it to be unique and.
I don't like boring.
Right.
I don't like boring.
Yep.
Life's too short.
Someone says, hey, John, I just put I saw when you did. I want the same thing. You say, okay, I'll give you that, but.
Let me do it. But hey,
let's do it.
But also, to be honest, I think of things as I'm building something. I think of things I could have done better all the time. No one's tougher on me than me. So, my wife typically will ask, got this job done today. How'd it go? No, went well. What do you mean? The pictures look fantastic. But I pick apart everything I do to the extent that's probably not healthy, truthfully. But I don't think it's possible to grow without that.
You wouldn't be who you are if you didn't pick it apart.
Right.
That's good.
So
this is like I feel like I have Elon Musk on my podcast here. This guy's.
I wish.
Dynamic and into this stuff. And
no, not quite as well funded. Not quite as well funded.
Well,
yeah.
But this is good. So fireplace walls are probably the number one thing you're doing.
That and it was for a long time. But
what are you up to now?
It's unfortunately storm repairs. Unfortunately, and that's the sad part. It's kind of a somber thing. It kind of takes a little bit of the. I don't want to say joy, but it takes a little bit of the excitement when you're coming in remodeling a home and it's at will. It's a lot more fun than coming in and cleaning up a disaster, right? So the home is being helped. You're helping the homeowner. You're making them happy by putting their life and their home back together. So you are doing a service, right? And there's a lot of people that fall into the traps of hiring unlicensed contractors, hiring out-of-state companies, fly-by-night vendors, things like that you hear about every single day. Literally, every single day I hear about people that have their money taken in various ways by shady contractors. And so it kind of goes back to that
Trust.
that trust you have to build, but it's that uphill battle you're fighting, like when you own a tire shop and everyone comes in thinking that you're trying to upsell them. Maybe your brakes are just fried, and I'm just trying to let you know, you know. And so that's one of those things too. So there's so many predatory contractors in times like this that it can kind of be a bummer, but there are enough good people out there, and if people do their due diligence, they can find them.
Yep. Well, so, and unfortunately, I mean, I guess you get a sense of accomplishment and that you have helped somebody when you put the house back together for them. Different than this artistic side of you that says, I'm going to do the fireplace wall, and here's some ideas I have. What do you think? And you have this artistry going on where putting somebody's home back together can be a little artistic, but mostly it's, boy, I just want it back the way it was, John. We want to move back. We want to get in there.
Yeah.
And maybe they even same cabinets or whatever else. I don't know. It's less artistic, I would think, than a vision of a wall or a vision of a room. Is that true? Or
absolutely. Yeah.
So there's pluses and minuses.
There are. So the first thing I started out with, knowing my background is with business, right? Knowing my background is in customer service, because I had people, like I said, that would drive past chain stores to come to my business to spend a few bucks more to buy a set of tires because it was from us and they knew our warranty meant something, right? So in that same sense, I'm approaching these homes in that way, right? So dealing with people that didn't expect to have to write a check for $200,000 this fall, for a home that flooded, that they've had in their house for generations, that didn't realize it was at risk so much. But that is part of it. I always think that the very first thing I set out to do was to never leave a situation worse than where I found it, right? Always leave it better than how you found it. In every job, every home, every situation. If I'm at a kid's birthday party, whatever, I'm going to leave it better than where I found it.
That's good.
And I try to always do that literally in every situation I'm in.
And so once you get past the fixing up these homes, by the way, we have a lot of rentals. A lot of folks looking to rent homes now.
Yeah.
And a lot of vacant homes out there, folks trying to rent them, but they don't want to rent them for 2 or 3 months or 4 months because they were displaced because of the hurricane.
Yeah.
So you have this battle going on the rental properties as well, because they have to get out of the home and let guys like you fix them up and then get back in there. But so your business probably took off before the hurricanes, obviously 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But now you're in this mode, it's really taken off because of the damage of the hurricanes.
Yeah. It's almost been a sidetrack.
Yeah.
Like a side quest.
Yep. And once we get back to near normal again, what would you love to do then? We're done fixing up homes. Hopefully there's no hurricanes for a while. What do you want to do?
I really like the unique jobs. I really like the unique callings. There are a lot of homes, flood damage notwithstanding. There are a lot of homes here built by a lot of interesting people over the years that need some updating, that need some sprucing up, that need some modernization, that need some personalization. On Bird Key alone, how many celebrities have lived there and built ridiculous palatial homes that are Miami Vice pink right now and need to be brought into this century. We just talked about.
There's nothing wrong with Miami Vice.
Well, I know. We just talked about enjoying some style. So I don't want to paint everything white or gray.
That's right.
Don't get me wrong. But we're in an area that's artificially protected by a bubble due to our natural resources and our tourism, right? So no matter what, whether it's COVID, whether it's a recession, whether it's inflation, Sarasota County is not going to be in the same boat as Pasco County, right? So there's always going to be interesting work here. And so after the storm damage is done, after the cleanup is done, it just goes back to more things that are more
artistic,
less somber cleanups and maybe just more voluntary cosmetic upgrades.
Tell me about the most unique, the most dynamic project you ever did.
There's been a few. Some of these homes in the Lake Club, and it's hard to pick a specific one, but if you've ever been in the Lake Club, if you've ever been in the Country Club East, homes with entire indoor driving ranges, indoor bowling alleys. I mean, it's like it's.
And now you put those in there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the certain subs for specific things like the gaming venues, but yeah, there's a lot of homes in there that have indoor golfing simulators that. First of all, I'm not a golfer, but I don't know that there's a more densely populated area in the United States in terms of golf courses per capita, right? So if you live in Buffalo, indoor golfing, sure, might be a little more practical. Here, I never understood the need for the indoor, not that I won't build it, I never understood the need for the indoor driving range or the golfing simulator, because it's like, man, you live, the ninth hole is right there outside your door.
Your house.
Just walk outside and take a few swings, So
an indoor bowling alley.
There's been some.
You laid the panels for the bowling alley.
There's
greased them up and wow.
Yeah. There's some stuff that you wouldn't expect to find. I mean, there's.
Here's a question. How do you sell that house? You turn around now and you're like, Kendall, sell this house, and like, God, we got to find a bowler.
Yeah,
we have to find a golfer.
Right. Maybe the next guy is into archery, and you can repurpose it.
That's true. We can
silver lining somewhere. There's an opportunity there.
Hatchet throwers.
That's exactly. There's an opportunity for something else there. Maybe an indoor shooting range. Who knows?
Yeah. So that's cool. Okay, so outside of the fireplace wall, other trends in this area that you're seeing more and more of. Are you doing closets?
My thing is, I hate fake. And it's not a shot at IKEA, but I hate fake furniture. I've got IKEA stuff in my kids' bedrooms, I'm sure, still, so it's no shade to them, but I like things to last. I'm fortunate enough to have some things that are family heirloom furniture items that are passed down over time. We're not going to have much of that if people keep buying IKEA. Disposable junk.
Right.
We live in a very disposable society, and it's not getting any less disposable in 2025. So I just find that you see people, and that was more encouragement to get in this business when I was building these new homes 8-9 years ago, and I would see closet companies coming in and installing MDF particle board closets and charging $9,000, $10,000, $12,000 for
wire racks.
For wire racks and fake wood.
Yeah.
And so these things. At first, when I got into this, it's an opportunity to provide a better service at a fair price. But then it's also, I think you're advancing the industry if you're encouraging others to do better as well.
Yeah. So I think what I'm getting so far out of this podcast is that John and Southtide represents a quality, artistic, caring product. You're not there for everybody.
I'm selling myself as much as I'm selling woodworking or remodeling, because at the end of the day, it's just like when you go sign a contract for a listing. You're looking that person in the eye, and you're not only convincing that person that you'll do what you say you're going to do, but they look forward to it because they know, they can tell, they can understand, they can pick up on your energy, they can pick up on your enthusiasm and that earnestness that can't be faked.
Right. No, that's good. And then you carry that from your tire business to this. So business is business. Who you are, no matter what business you're in.
Doesn't matter.
This is an awesome product and an awesome person.
Thank you.
Carrying quality. You don't get that a lot. I mean, so many folks just want to turn and burn.
Yeah.
Just want to make a buck and go.
Yeah.
But life is too short for that. And you should enjoy it. Enjoy what you're doing. Put some quality out there and be able to step back and say, wow, I did that. That looks great.
The issue also is with that accountability is that in my hometown, I still go back for Gator games and I run into people I see that I haven't seen in a decade. I'm walking into a bagel shop or whatever, walking in the state, I see someone that I haven't seen in a decade, but they knew my parents and my grandparents, and I knew their parents and their kids and wow. all these things. And so you go from a place like that where you have a built-in community where I couldn't skip school in high school without getting, someone to call my dad and say, hey, I just saw John, fooling around. Why is he not in school? So I didn't, right? But in this place now, we moved to Sarasota 10 years ago, and I've already kind of built that sense of community, and we've already met so many people in this journey that it's become that now, where it's almost like a hometown where you walk around and you can't go out without seeing someone you know.
You know,
Yeah.
that's right. And you want to make sure they know.
And you want to be able to walk around with and knowing that whoever you
You're
see,
held-
it's going to be a good experience. It's going to be a good interaction because you left that person better than you found them.
Right. Good for you. And not only that, but we talked about these artistic approach to what you're doing, adding value to that home. Let's talk about the value coming back out of that home as a real estate agent. Now, I'm going to go sell your home
Right.
that John put a ton of work into, and from Southtide, and the return on investment for, let's say, remodeling your kitchen. We're talking 60 to 80% of that value could come back. Bathrooms along the same lines.
Yep.
Another big one, I don't know if you get into this, but exterior windows and doors
Yep.
can add a tremendous amount of value you get back on that. New flooring, lighting updates, closet upgrades. We bought our home in Illinois years ago. My wife went in there, and they had a master closet that was the size of a small bedroom,
Yeah.
all decked out.
Yeah.
And that sold the house.
Yeah,
My
of
wife
course.
was in. She's like, that's it.
It didn't matter what you
I
said.
said, but
You were out of it at that point.
the basement's all flooded. Oh, I don't care.
Whatever.
Yeah.
It'll dry.
Yeah, I was out of it because of that.
Too bad.
Yeah, because of that closet. So it's not just artistic, and that's great. We're not talking about painting the wall black.
Right.
And that's unique to you and your likes, but no one else is going to like that.
Right.
Which, of course, you'd always paint white over that before you sell it, and I would recommend that. But John's adding value to your home, a value that you can enjoy in the meantime,
Yeah.
and that helps sell your home.
I was in so a big local community that's a hot topic lately is Sky Ranch, right?
Yes.
By Taylor Morrison. Lennar's in there too a little bit, and John Cann's in there too a little bit, but it's a Taylor Morrison product through and through, right? I was there with a designer, a friend of mine, last week talking to a family, and they were struggling with this, like, what if we do this to our home? What if we put in this feature wall, these beams, this tongue and groove ceiling? We do all this work, and the next buyer
Doesn't like
it. And I'm stealing something from the designer here. It's not my original thought. She said, "Guys, you closed 6 days ago. You built this for you. Make it for you. Live in it.
Right.
This house is for you. Design it for you. Worry about the rest later.
Right.
You have no plans of selling, no plans of moving. Make this house your home, and then the rest will be."
Fall in line. That's
Will
right.
fall in line.
And those type of things aren't going to throw off you out. If you had a pool in the living room,
Right.
that's going to be a problem.
Right. Right. That
that's-
might be a bit
Yeah.
more difficult to overcome.
But yeah,
Right.
the beams and stuff. Yeah, make it
Yeah.
you, and you can always maybe they're dark mahogany wood
Yeah.
beams, and the next
Paint 'em
party
white.
doesn't. Yeah, paint them white.
Paint 'em white.
You can do so much with that, but
Yeah.
it adds character to that home.
Yeah.
And we almost bought in that same
Yeah.
area.
Yep.
But two homes. There's so many homes that look alike in there.
Yeah.
You just made your home stick out and
Right.
value a little bit more than the guy next to you.
Right.
So there's a lot of value to that. Listen, we've been talking for a long time here, and I know you're busy. You've got lots going on today. You're probably going to go do 3 or 4 more.
I appreciate the time.
Construction jobs for you, and these fixer-uppers and renovations. And I'm just so happy to be here with me. Again, I'm gonna emphasize it's Southtide Construction.
SouthtideConstruction.com.
John
Yep.
Rowell. Go ahead.
Yeah, SouthtideConstruction.com. Southtide Construction on Instagram, Facebook. I don't think we're on TikTok yet, but we probably will
They
be
will
soon.
be. Well,
Yeah.
this will be on TikTok.
Yeah, unless they ban it soon.
Pieces of this will be on TikTok. John Rowell, and I think it's, whether it's in a bad economy, a good economy, and this is going to be, like I said, Sarasota is a market all by itself. It's a bubble.
It's a bubble by
as you
itself.
mentioned. We're going to sell homes. You're going to fix up homes. You're going to go in there and customize homes. This is going to be going on until we both retire at 90.
After we're gone.
After we're long gone, and your mark's going to be there.
Yeah.
I say, who built that? And there's going to be Frank Lloyd Wright, and there's going to be John Rowell right next to him. So
Maybe one day.
I hope so.
Maybe one day.
Good to see you. Good to be on here.
Thanks,
and thank
Kendall.
you so much,
Thank
man.
you, sir.
All right. We'll
Thanks
talk
for
to you
your time,
again.
sir.
And then Conversations with Kendall, please check us out, like, subscribe, and look up John. Get this guy some business if you're looking to fix up anything at all. Artistic, honest, great guy. Thank you, John.
Thank you so much, Kendall.
Okay.